Hey, wake up. It's time for the Primal Scream.
All right, we're back, and
Sweet. Well, hey, you've joined us on Labor Day 2013. We are excited to have you here. We're just having a chat about labor rights and minimum wage.
it's
all
Labor
kinds
Day,
of
so we're talking
shit.
about all things labor related.
Yeah. And let me just say that the last thing I said before we started recording this was that if McDonald's can pay somebody $13 an hour when it costs you and I 70 cents more for a hamburger, but knowing that us paying that much more money allows all of their employees to make a living wage, that to me is fundamentally a non-moral dilemma. You should be able to do that.
It just makes economic sense.
Yeah. I mean, because that person's going to be able to afford to either, I don't know, buy McDonald's themselves or go grocery shopping for their kids or buy their kids lunches so they're not in welfare anymore. It allows you to do more things because there's so many people that are part of the working class that are on welfare. And they have 2 jobs and they're on welfare. I mean, that's fucking crazy. On top of that, I do think there should be some leeway in there so that Joe Schmo cutting lawns with he and 3 of his buddies and trying to start a business and trying to make something happen, they're allowed some leeway. He can't pay those guys $15 an hour, and we shouldn't expect that. So should be some leeway in there so that there's some give and take about how much money a business makes and at what point they should be paying their partners or their employees a living wage. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think we had talked at one time about having almost a we would have to implement a morality code into business. And
but that's funny though, because how do you do that when the idea of American businessmen is like ruthless and greed wins and greed is good?
Well, I think it's a redefinition of capitalism.
Uh-oh.
You know, like today
it's a fascinating concept.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think when you start throwing labels at people and you start throwing labels at the government, is he a socialist? Is it communist? America, is it capitalist? I think there's little aspects of America that is socialist.
Sure.
There is a little bit of America that is Marxist in a way.
Right.
There's small, little incremental, little tiny things.
That's why
we're not just capitalists, period.
And I think capitalism at its core, to me, if you lift a worker up, if you're able to pay them more money and it doesn't undercut the corporation because they're already saying we're going to raise our prices to this level. If you want us to pay these workers this way, this is how much more you're going to pay for your food, for example, of McDonald's, right? I'm going to stick with that example. Okay, that's the easiest one.
All right, I like it.
Because I don't eat their stuff anyways. Allegedly.
And you didn't say anything bad about them.
No, I didn't. No, I'm hoping they do it because I would pay more for a Big Mac if I knew I was helping somebody out. It's that simple. We've got to find a way to make capitalism moral
and ethical.
Compass. The moral compass in business has got to be better so that I want people to make money. I want people to be successful. I would like to be an author someday. I would like to be a successful podcaster so we're making money and we have people who are doing commercials or ads on our webpage or our podcast. That sounds great to me. But I would never do it by stepping on the little guy so I can get higher. That's fucked up. That sounds bad to me. I wouldn't, you and I, so some guy helped us design all this stuff. Nobody did. We fumbled through the shit ourselves. But say some poor little bastard.
I'll tell you what, real quick, and then don't forget where I interrupted you, Todd,
okay.
Because we are total novices. Total novices when it comes to designing a web page and I mean, that's just not what I do. I don't do those things. So when we're trying to put together this podcast, we have fun recording. We've done a lot of recordings. We've had a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
A lot of practices. But actually opening a web page, understanding the difference between a media host website a web page hosting website, and then hey, but don't forget to buy your domain name. I mean, it's so much more
Jeez Louise.
complicated.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
than
so convoluted too. We forgot one. I mean, it sounds like we forgot one little step, and it threw a bunch of shit off. It's crazy. Anyways,
Anyway,
so
back to what you were saying.
if we found some little computer geek who came in and helped us set all these things up, and I said, "Oh, hey,
I prefer
good job,
computer expert."
Okay, and I say, "Hey, good job. I'm gonna give you $20. Here's $20, man. Thanks for your help." And he's like, "I just set up everything for your domain and your website and your podcast." And I say, "Well, hey, you only work 2 hours. Here's $20. That's a common going rate. You know what?" I'd be like, "Dude, you saved my fucking life. Here's $100 bill." You know what I mean? It's like morally,
Mm-hmm.
should you pay somebody? Because what they've done for you saves you a tremendous amount of time and agony and all the things worked into it. There's got to be a moral aspect to it that's kind of part of it.
And you're also, I mean, every businessman out there will understand this when I say time is money. Everything is time is money, and your time is so valuable, not just for profit, but time with your kids and time with your wife and time for yourself, and to really struggle for days and days or hours and hours you're up late at night trying to figure out, oh my God, how does this domain name fit with the host? Oh, am I doing this correctly? Am I wasting money? I mean, it's
Right.
well worth it to say, hey, buddy, I know you're an expert in your field. I'm going to pay you what we both agree on is a fair wage, and this is what I need. Oh, you can get it done in an afternoon? Awesome. I'm going to go play with my kids. I'm going to go play with my wife a little, maybe.
And it's all right when you get done. I mean,
Right.
it's the peace of mind. It's somebody you're calling in to take care of everything for you. Can I rely on you to take care of all this stuff? Yes. And I'm going to pay you the right amount. Are you happy with that? Yes, it's great. Done.
Yeah.
That's
wipe your hands
it's
clean.
like a common agreement that we're going to treat each other correctly. And I think that's why people find, I would assume, I never worked at McDonald's. I never worked at Burger King or any of those places. I would assume that it's a very unforgiving thing. It's very disposable. One kid out, one kid in, But now they're saying that there's like the average age of a McDonald's worker is like 25 years old. That's a pretty well-established adult at this point.
I think that's an average because what I see from my perception of the local employees at the local fast food places, I see very old people and I see extremely young people. So that could average out to be 25, but I see the ends of the spectrum. I see both ends of the spectrum where I don't really see the middle of the road employee. Middle of the road age range.
Well, and that's the Midwest as well. We're not talking New York. We're not talking Boston. We're not talking San Francisco. We're not talking LA.
That was my caveat. What I see here.
Well, yeah,
in the
exactly.
Midwest.
The Midwest it's not like that here. When you're talking about massive numbers of people in a small urban area, I think you're going to find people who are desperate for work. This job is not cutting it. I better go get a part-time job somewhere. I did that. I chose Starbucks because I knew
because they had great benefits.
Yeah, 20 hours, and I had full health care for myself and my family. You can't beat it when you have a wife and two kids.
Let me ask you this: why can Starbucks do that, but huge corporations can't?
Starbucks is a huge
No.
No,
I'm saying
it's a choice. No, you're absolutely right. It's a choice.
Because the large factories and places like that I've worked, they put it out there to their employees like, this is the best deal we could get. What?
Through the union, you mean, kind of?
Really? When the union contract comes around.
Sure.
And you're talking about things, that's what's thrown out there is, this was the best I could do. Hope you like it. And it's clearly not the best you could do. Why is it that Starbucks can get a great deal for something like that, but another huge factory can't? Is it all about the profit at that point?
It's got to be about profit because Starbucks is really employee owned, or that's not right. Starbucks is a very employee centered company. They do a lot of promotions, a lot of giveaways, a lot of stuff that makes you want to work there. When I left there, I left there because I had a full-time job as a teacher. That's why I left. I had a great time working there. Once you know how to make stuff, it's just a blast to work there. And their benefits are really, really great.
You know, I remember going through the drive-through with you, and I had ordered a coffee. We had both ordered a coffee. And I'll be blunt. It's pretty expensive. It's expensive. But it's okay.
So worth it. Oh my
But
God,
it's
so
good.
worth it.
It's good coffee. I enjoy it. But here's the thing. You were livid with me because I didn't tip the lady who made the coffee. And to me, it's like, hey, it's like McDonald's. I mean, it's become such a process that you do this, you follow this step, and then you follow this step, and then you follow that step, and done. You know, to me, it's no different than a McDonald's. And I wouldn't go to McDonald's and tip the employee at McDonald's like, hey, thank you for the wonderful service. I just went through the drive-through at McDonald's.
I can't argue that.
And I pulled up, and my stuff is ready. It's all hot. It's perfect. And hey, you got my order right.
You're right.
I'm tipping you.
I can't argue against that. But I can tell you, as an employee who worked there, when we got our tips, it was just like, is you still got like, I think it was $9.50 an hour, which is pretty good.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
But it was just a little bit extra. You know, I had like another $15-$20 to put in my pocket every whatever day we got our tips cashed out to us. So what they do is they take all those tips and they dump them in a bag every single night. And they take all those bags, they collect them all together. And then every time, once a week, they get all the money from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And they just sort it out. I did it myself as a supervisor. $1, $1, $1 to every single employee. So everybody had their own little sealed envelope of cash that they've earned through all those weeks. And so I think it's almost like, again, I can't argue against the idea of it being kind of like McDonald's. You know,
but I mean, I think there's
doing
something to be
specialized.
said.
It's like saying, I'm going to make you what you want. Today, I ordered a quad venti, 2-pump mocha, 2-pump peppermint latte.
Do you have any idea how pretentious?
Oh, it is.
It sounds.
But I like, because I work there, I know exactly what I want and what I like. At the same time, I go in there sometimes and I just love to get a French press. My favorite thing in the whole world. Nothing pretentious at all. It's like put some hot water on some coffee grounds and serve it to me. So there are times when I have both, or I get drip coffee sometime. If I want to have something in particular, I know what I want. And guess what? They're going to do that for me exactly how I want.
Well, so will
I do
McDonald's. Hey, I want a double bacon cheeseburger with one tomato cut in half.
No, they won't.
They will.
No,
I guarantee you, if I went to McDonald's right now and went through the drive-thru,
and they say,
I would like a double bacon cheeseburger, one pickle, one piece of cheese, no ketchup, no mustard.
You're right. But
they would have to special make that, and there's the little receipt that comes with it, and they do that time to.
But on average, they don't do that. Right?
No.
Most
On
of the time
average, they
don't.
do. Well, I think a lot of people get what is standard, but I have 3 kids. And every time I go through the drive-thru, one of my kids is like, yeah, I'd like a double bacon cheeseburger with no pickles.
Your kids and my kids are socias. That's part of the problem.
Would you just? Oh my God, is that a reference to the movie?
Yeah, they're socias. Yeah.
If everybody at home doesn't know what Todd's talking about, Todd, tell them what movie you're talking about. You're referencing
The socias and the greasers.
Yeah. What's the movie?
The Outsiders.
The Outsiders.
Yeah.
It just came to you, luckily, didn't it?
No, I had it before that.
I thought I had this blank. I thought you had this blank look in your eye when we were talking about this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to corner him. I'm going to corner him. I got him.
I often have that blank look in my face. No, when my kids act pretentious because they are somewhat
give
upper
them what
middle,
they want.
somewhat upper middle
And
class,
so are mine.
white kids. I'm telling you, I call them socials. I'm like, you're complaining to me about not being able to play an Xbox when people are dying every day and have no food and have no homes. Give me a fucking break.
And you just got done playing the Xbox for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Give me a break. I don't want to hear about it. You know, I don't even think my childhood was that bad, and I grew up with little or nothing in a lot of instances.
You had a teepee.
I lived in a teepee.
I didn't have a motherfucking teepee.
Right, and the teepee had an extension cord, which is great.
I could play jump rope,
but There's no way to use it.
And I could power my
What's a
lamp.
practical use for this jump rope? Exercise. I totally agree. But I mean, I have a really hard time with it. So I'm like, stop being a soch and go find something else. Go read a book. Let's color. I'll play you garbage and cards. Get the cards out. Let's play games. It's like, oh my God, it's nonstop.
Yeah,
I'm as guilty as they are, though, because I love television. I watch TV all the time. And so I'm expecting them to do things that I'm not willing to do. But I do have a hard time, though, with, what? I just that kind of whining about video games. I want to pull my ears off my head and carve my eyes out with a spoon and have them be adopted.
Okay. All right. He doesn't mean that truly. But anyway, I don't want to go too far down the family thing. We were talking about Labor Day, right? When you think of Labor Day, what is one person that really stands out to you? I mean, when you say Labor Day and you think of labor law or labor unions or work, what's something that just immediately sparks an idea in your head? What immediately jumps in there? And it's not right or wrong. It's just whatever you thought of.
The first thing when you think of labor laws and those kind of things.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, when you think Labor Day, what immediately jumps into your head? Why do we even have a Labor Day?
I think I want to say the California farmer. Why am I blanking on what I'm thinking?
The California farmers.
No, the laborers.
Okay, that's what
who
you
are
think
picking.
of.
When I think of labor laws and people who are not given a lot of rights and things like that, and things that have changed in labor laws, I think of the California laborers who are out picking lettuce and artichokes and asparagus and everything else. That's who I'm thinking of. Now, that could be wrong. I mean, they could be bad in the sense of when it comes as a historian, a person who likes history and is passionate about it, the Gilded Age and people being screwed, because, hey, it's just another body. Get them in here and work until they're dead and boom, gone. No benefits, nothing. And somebody's getting fucking filthy wealthy off of it. And somebody else is being wrung out like a sponge and chucked to the wind.
You know what? We can come back to that because Labor Day, we're talking about labor in general, labor law, labor unions. See, like when I think of Labor Day, I think of Jimmy Hoffa. Immediately, I think of unions. I think of sweatshops. I think of the child labor laws.
Sure.
The Weingartner Act. I think of things like that when I think of Labor Day. And if it wasn't for these people who stood up to the institution,
right?
And I'm not saying that Jimmy Hoffa did it the right way, but
well,
I mean, back then when you picketed, when you were on strike, back in the day, there was bats and people got hurt and their jaws were broke. I mean, it was hardcore. But if those things wouldn't have happened, companies wouldn't have changed. If there wasn't somebody like Jimmy Hoffa basically saying, I'm going to war. No one is going to come in here and run this factory. The employees are going to stand out here at the picket lines and we're going to go to war. And no one's going to get in here because we're putting our foot down because it's unfair. And it's a very violent way of protest.
Right.
But if he would have done it just peacefully, hey, I'm just gonna stand here with my sign and I hope you listen and you can bring in whoever you want to cross the picket line, nothing would have ever changed.
And
nothing would have changed.
I would agree with the first part of that. I can't say that nothing would ever change because the peaceful demonstrations of Martin Luther King worked. It took a lot longer, and it's not quite as quick of a change that we want to have that he was able to get. I totally agree with that. But you can't say that nothing would have changed that they had peacefully demonstrated. Eventually it would have happened, but it would have probably been a lot longer. You know what I mean? I was thinking of Cesar Chavez and the California labor laws that were changed due to him and saying these farm workers are picking your fruits and your vegetables and doing everything you want them to do, and you're going to pay them a pittance as long as you can have fresh produce. Pretty amazing dude.
Now, if you want to get into that section of labor and on Labor Day. I think you need to. Well, my opinion. If you're talking about illegal aliens, if you're talking about illegally being in the States, right?
And this is like this is the 60s, early 60s, mid 60s, when I think we actively brought people up from Mexico to work in those areas, but we treated them really horribly.
Right, but I'm just thinking of today. When I think of labor today, and you bring up people picking, fruits and vegetables at farms, right, in California, I think we get so wrapped up in verbiage and the names and the categories that we place people in. Why don't we just say, how easy would it be? Because everybody's pissed. All of the American citizens are pissed at illegal aliens because we can group them. We can put them in a group over there, and we're like, you get the jobs and you're getting this money and you don't have to pay any taxes. And then you can come into our hospitals and you don't have insurance and we got to flip the bill. I mean, there's a lot of anger when you look at it that way. Fine.
One of the bigger things, though, is if you've heard of the 12 million that are in the country right now who are working, they're illegal, but they've been here for a long time. The 12 million was brought up in the last presidential election and everything, right?
Okay.
They pay taxes. And they keep saying that. One of the people are saying, one of the bigger issues was that if we just fucking deported all those people, you don't realize 12 million people who are paying taxes are now gone. You don't realize the amount of money that would be coming into the federal government that's just
in which way are they paying taxes? Just like when they're buying clothes and groceries and things like that.
Oh yeah.
How can you pay an income tax if you're not a citizen?
Because they're
not receiving a paycheck. They're getting cash.
No, they're receiving paychecks. The 12 million are receiving paychecks.
Okay.
It's a totally different thing. And they're also paying, so they're paying income tax on that. You're right. They're paying taxes on whatever groceries they're buying and those kind of normal things that are happening whatever state they're in. But we would lose, the government in the States would lose all that.
Right.
If they were just deported. And so people were saying, okay, well then that's why, I think it was Romney who said, oh, we need to, they'll self-deport. We'll cut them. Well, I mean, I understood the logic behind it, even though I thought it was a little ridiculous. We're going to cut you off, and so you won't want to be here anymore. So you're going to want to go back, which is ridiculous. Because this place, even in its worst circumstances, is better probably than the worst circumstance in Mexico. I would imagine.
Yeah. I would imagine because we're not there. We don't know truly. But here's my idea. Here's my thought. And I want to know from when we post this, I really want to know people's reaction to this, and it's on the internet. It's going to be all over the place. So I really want to hear people listening to it who are illegals or their parents are illegals, and I also want to hear about the people that, are really angry about the illegal alien. But
inform us. Don't judge.
Yeah. This is about conversation.
And let us know what's going on.
Yeah, we want to spark conversation. We want to maybe inspire, plant that little seed, that idea that maybe it's not as bad as what we think. Also, if instead of deporting people, instead of checking identification, instead of looking at Latinos in a criminal light, why can't the police and INS, why don't they just go to these farms and factories and meat processing plants and all these places and they just say, everybody stay here. Nobody can leave. We're going to process everybody. Today, you're all American citizens. And we're going to find the shit out of the owner of this company because at any point, I think at any point, an owner of a company should be able to hire whoever they want. But at that point, if that employee is not getting a paycheck where he is paying his fair share to the whole,
right, the taxes,
which, by the way, sounds very communist. That's a very communist idea.
For libertarian, it's very communist.
Right? Because you're part of you. I have no control over it. I have no control over my paycheck. There's going to be immediate deductions and it's immediately gone.
Right.
I have no control, and it's going to the betterment of the whole.
The society, yeah.
Right. So my thinking is, if somebody from Mexico wants to come to the United States and work, fine. here's a job at wherever. It could be wherever it is. But that person who hired them basically is just saying, if you're working here, you're gonna have citizenship. You're gonna be an American citizen. You're gonna pay taxes, and it removes all of these arguments from the other side.
And the stigmatism. That
All the
goes along with it.
stigmatism. Hey, they're not paying taxes. Hey, they're getting free health care. No, they're not. If the owner of the business, of the establishment, says, hey, I can't have you guys working here unless I give you a paycheck. And if you get a paycheck, the only way you're getting that is if you're an American citizen. And the only way you can be an American citizen is if I have whatever process. We would have to have an easier process
Sure.
to come in and say, boom, you're an American citizen. Let's fingerprint you. Make sure you have a social security card. You're all set up. I mean, how long could it possibly take? I mean, how long does it take to get a normal job anywhere else? If you apply at a factory around here where we live, it could be 4 weeks to 6 weeks to get that job when you apply.
Background checks and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, all that stuff. And then when you get the job, you go into the business, and they got to get their paperwork all squared away. They got to get your insurance all squared away. It's maybe another week or two before you actually get on the floor of the factory and you're doing work, because they got to get all your paperwork just right. Mm-hmm. So it could take some time. But if you do that with people who are illegal aliens, then what argument do we have as American citizens against that point?
And I don't think we do have an argument. The hard part is that people start saying, oh, you know what? Hey, let's go from somewhere in Mexico and start going up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, because we know that there's a corporation there who's saying, we're going to do this, and this for you. Get you set up as a citizen, get you better pay, all these things. We're going to have this flood of immigrants that come in. Okay, that's one argument. My counter argument.
So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the flood of it? I mean, back in the day, we were all immigrants.
Exactly. My point is that people are going to say they're taking American jobs. Well, if Americans wanted those jobs, they'd fucking take them. They wouldn't be sitting back going, oh, hey, wait a second. We might want those jobs. What are you guys doing hiring these illegals? Because we might want them. No, if you wanted a job and you don't have a job and you wanted one, you'd take one of those jobs.
The fact is, one of those jobs probably not going to pay very much.
No.
And you might have to know Spanish
to
be able to communicate with your coworkers.
You know, my wife and I often have this argument where we talk about things where I am so relaxed and laid back about things. And, oh, you know what? If something happened to our house, we had to foreclose on our house, we'll just go to an apartment. We'll get a 2-bedroom apartment. It'd be me, you, and the kids. We'll be just fine. And to her, she's like, that does not sound nice at all. And to me, I'm like, I live in a teepee.
You're a soch.
No, I live in a teepee. So to me, I live in a one-room apartment with a fireplace in the middle. That's the only way we stayed warm in the winter in the Sierra Valley Mountains in the wintertime, right, by Lake Tahoe. And we cooked our dinner over the stove, and we took baths in a makeshift bathtub, right? And we took care of ourselves. We were clean. We weren't nasty people. That's my basis of what I go off of. So a 2-bedroom apartment that in my mind has a kitchen and a shower.
Sounds really good to you right now.
Excuse me. And cable is not that bad. And so it's a hard thing to relate to. And so I think that sometimes Americans say, or these immigrants say they all live in one apartment, together as a family. Half of them are working and earning a living. The other half are going to school or are children that are in school, public schools, things like that. And they're trying, to me, I can't think of a more inspirational idea that you have a family of 8. You have a mom and a dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have 2 older, maybe cousins that are there as well. And those 4 people are earning a living. And then you have 4 younger kids that are going to a local school district, right? They're so happy to have a roof over their heads, to have a kitchen and a bathroom, and their community they are allowing themselves to be right there together as a family. And they don't think of anything else. Because you know what? In Mexico, they might not have the house. They might have a dirt hut. They might be in the farm country of central Mexico where they're farming, and it's this super labor intensive with absolutely pennies on the dollar when it comes to American dollars. And it might be a great thing to have what they have, And if you were to say, hey, we're going to give you citizenship and your children the opportunity to go to our school system and go to college and things like that, dude, some of the greatest Americans who have come through United States school systems have been immigrants. I personally know a handful of people on the East Coast that their dad was part of the North or the South Korea or South Vietnamese army. And when we were pulling out of Vietnam, they and their kids were allowed to be on the boat when they left. And I have a friend of mine who went to the Naval Academy, now runs his own battleship in the Navy, a very highly decorated, wonderful guy. And he remembers going to the bathroom on the beach as a child, going up into the brush, digging a hole in the sand, going to the bathroom and coming back out, and being on the beach with his mom, and they were fishing and doing stuff in the ocean in Vietnam as Vietnamese. And now he is a decorated Navy battleship captain. I mean, immigrants are some of the strongest people. I'm sorry. We're all immigrants.
Yeah, we're all immigrants.
Some people who come to the opportunity of America really grab a hold with both hands and say, you know what? This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better fucking grab it and freaking roll, because it is not always going to happen.
I think a lot of that is because I think we've forgotten what it is to struggle, to truly struggle. You know, our life in America is so cush. It can be so easy, so cush, that even when we're not making a lot of money, it's still so much better than what some people have had.
Are we digging into the dumpsters for food? Are we digging in trash piles to find our next meal?
Right. But at what point do we say, okay, no more? I'm going to have some pride, which is lacking when it comes to the people of Walmart. Not the employees, but let's just say the people that walk in there. Have you ever seen that? The people of Walmart?
Yes,
You have,
I have,
right?
absolutely.
Have
yes.
some fucking pride, people. But that is something that's lacking, I think, is pride, is that moral code when it comes to, I just looked up this on the internet. It says roughly 70% of Latinos are Catholic, right?
Right.
But you don't hear a real push from the Catholic community to embrace
The Latino community?
illegal aliens,
Oh, sure.
to let's help figure out a way to citizenize. Is that correct? Citizenize?
I don't.
No.
I like it.
Make
but
these
I'm not-
people citizens?
That's probably the best way.
There you go.
I like citizenize, though. That's pretty sweet.
Citizenize. God,
Oh,
let's coin that phrase.
that's snappy.
Citizenize. Bam. But you never hear anything from the church when there's news stories about building a huge wall along our borders because we got to protect ourselves from the Latinos and the illegal aliens and protect our jobs. And it sounds ridiculous. And you never hear from the Catholic community, who, by the way, are still huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially in the Midwest.
you would
Big
say
Catholic area.
I would think you would have to say, after listening to the last electoral campaigns, that if you don't believe in God, then you're probably not going to be up there doing the debates.
Yeah,
Because that was a legitimate question. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in evolution?
yeah, I can stand it. Sorry.
That type of thing. So it's obviously very prevalent
Yeah,
in our community. So it amazes me that the Catholic Church, who has such a powerful...
well, the problem with the Catholic Church right now is people are going to be questioning their moral fortitude with all the other shit going on.
I'm not saying from Rome. I'm
No.
just saying local churches.
But the local churches are controlled by local bishops and local people that are above them. And right now, the Catholic Church is on the down low and keeping things nice and quiet because they're not doing so well still after all the scandals of
Do you
these
think
child molesters.
they're still taking the hits?
Oh, they're huge. People are still.
You don't think the new pope is doing what do you
Oh.
think? Do you think the new pope is doing a good job?
Frankie is awesome. I like him as a
Frankie.
person. I like him. He pays for his own stuff. He doesn't take special cars and buses and stuff places. He has the Pope Mobile, which he needs for protection. But overall, I mean, he goes and visits places that no other pope has. He goes to orphanages. He goes to leper communities. He goes places that nobody else has gone to pope wise. Popes in their freaking fancy red slippers. He is much more like Saint Francis, who was the pope that was the saint that's like towards nature. They say He's very down to earth. When he was made Pope, right, after the canonation or whatever it was, he went back to his hotel and paid for his bill. He went back to his hotel and rode the bus back to
The Vatican?
The Vatican with all the other guys. Because he's just like, just now because I'm Pope just now doesn't mean I stop being a person. I don't need to keep doing what I'm doing. I now have some special thing through God. For him, it was like, okay, now I'm Pope, but I'm still a person. So, I mean,
Right.
I'm
no better than what I was.
Yeah, I am not a religious guy by any stretch.
I've only been thrust into a leadership
Right.
position.
Absolutely. And so I'm no better than you. And I thought he was a wonderful example for almost all leaders in the world. You know, I am not better than you are. I'm a person that has been put into this position. Thank you for that position. I'm humbled by you allowing me to be in this position, but I am not some, you know, I mean, he said that gay people won't be going to hell. Did he say that? Like, there shouldn't be going to hell, that
Frankie did say that?
he did. He had some stance on gay rights that I was like, holy Moses. You know, because the Nazi, the last pope, because he was a Nazi back in the day, he was part of the youth Nazi movement in Germany, was just, and all, whenever this is horrible, this is really bad, but again, Francis has a really kind grandfather. When I see him, I see my grandfather, right? The pope before him looked like the Emperor on the Star Wars trilogy.
Oh my God.
I mean, this is bad. It's all perception. It's all external things. I'm sure he was a wonderful guy on the inside, but he had like those deep socket eyes. And the way he looked, he looked like the Emperor who was talking to Luke to tell him to fight his father and come on my side. I mean, it's so bad. But every time I saw him, I was like, oh, God.
It's the Emperor.
Your friends are dying. The end is near. God, it was hard for me to do. Hey, I want to say one thing. I think that right now we have a new Gilded Age happening.
In what way?
I think it's been happening for the last 20 years. Well, the Gilded Age was in the 1870s, 1880s, right? Where you have the Rothschilds, the Gettys, right?
And they meet at a secret location known only as the Meadows.
Which is true.
Which, by the way,
is true.
Anyways. And Colonel Sanders before he went tits up. That's a reference to one of our favorite.
One of the best comedies of all time.
Yeah.
So I Married an Axe Murderer. Anyways.
If you want a look into our inner psyches as people, watch that movie.
Mike Myers.
And if you
Mike
can
Myers
appreciate
is one of our
it,
favorites.
Yeah, if you can appreciate it and you can laugh at it and you're just like, oh my God, that's ridiculously funny.
Matt and I are huge So I Married an Axe Murderer fans, and we have a good group of friends and family around us who are right along with us. We love the movie.
Right.
Mike Myers is just incredible. Anyways, so you had the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, right? The Stanfords, the Stanford University. You had the Vanderbilts. You had these people who were considered robber barons, right? That just like all of a sudden had this immense amount of
influence and power and money.
Oh, it's all about wealth. But at the time, though, because the Industrial Revolution had really kicked into effect, you had increases in population, right? You had increases in population of, sorry, not population. You had increases of like the amount of things we were able to
produce,
not produce, but harvest. Wheat increased by like 256%, right? Corn, 220%. Coal, 800% increases. So we're talking like all of a sudden these automated things. This guy had an idea. He said, let's do this and put this into effect. Awesome. Boom. 800% increase in coal production. I mean, overnight,
was that strip mining?
Oh, I don't know what it was. But you put people in mines, and they were because of the technology you gave them with the revolution of the industry at the time, they were able to do those things. And so one guy who put the things into effect allowed for an 800% increase in production. Now, the Carnegies, for example, I think he gave away 80 to 90% of his wealth.
I have no idea.
As a philanthropist, he's up there with what's his name from Omaha? Who's our local guy who's from Omaha? Warren Buffett.
Oh,
he's given away a ton of money, right? And so has Bill Gates, right? Carnegie gave away like close to 90% of his wealth. He gave away. So I think that's wonderful, right? On the back end, But if you've been ridiculously wealthy for a good 60 years of your life, and then on the back end you give it all away, good for you. But I think there needs to be, again, back to that moral compass. At the beginning, when you have people going into a dangerous, horrible situation, let's use coal as an example, right? To this day, men still go down into caves, into caverns, and dig out coal and get black lung disease and all these things. When you're giving away your wealth on the backside, I wonder how many people died in collapses, in health issues, all on the front end of that wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why labor laws and OSHA and some of those things are so important, because it keeps businesses from saying, oh, hey, we're making money. This is great. You know what? Let's just kind of, let's fudge these things. Or, let's be a little lax in this area. Oh, fuck, they don't need that extra whatever to do those things. They'll be okay. Their grandfather's grandfather did it without any issues. Let's just keep going because we're fucking making money. Let's just keep it going. Let's go, 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 go. All about the wealth and the greed involved. And I think it's wonderful. And I think we all, when you and I sit back when we're 80 years old and we're retired and we have good pensions, hopefully, and we sit back and go, you know what? Let's give a couple extra $100 to such and such thing because it'll help people out. That makes us feel good. We're old men. We've lived our lives. We've worked hard. I think that we should be doing it now. I think now we should be saying, you know what? If this podcast becomes popular and we start generating some income, part of me says 10% of every dollar that we earn, we give to somebody because we're lucky enough to be able to do something we love to do. We both have jobs outside of this podcast.
Yeah.
We're
not looking to do this podcast to make a ton of money.
No, but give to the front end, the back end.
Right.
You know
what? There's such I have such distrust for large, organized things like.
We'll give locally. There's tons of local stuff.
Yeah, I suppose we could.
We'll give to our city. You'll give back to our city. How awesome would that be that we do something that's productive enough that we say, you know what? Here you go. We want nothing back. We're just going to give this to whatever. Or you know what? This person has a project they want to do in whatever town, and it's part of the Midwest that we enjoy and we like and we love. We say, okay, you know what? We got $10,000 extra this year. Here you go. It's all yours. And they can do something with it. It doesn't have to be for notoriety or for our own benefit or for our own egos. We just know that because we're lucky that we live in the center of the spoke that feeds the nation. Thank you very much.
We're in the center of the spoke that creates corn that feeds the cows. We're in the center of the spoke that creates... No, listen.
Grass-fed beef is better.
Listen. Yeah, but the reality of it is we produce a crap ton of corn. That's a scientific figure, by the way. Crap ton. We create a ton of corn. That's our main export. But that corn, it doesn't go to feed anybody. It goes to feed cows and farm animals, and it goes to create ethanol. Mm-hmm. But that's not it. That's not all. And it also goes to create high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, don't miss this when I say the center spoke, the center of the wheel that has all this wonderful farmland that can produce food for people to eat or not.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's who we are and what we do. It's amazing what we can do. But what we choose to grow, that stuff, it doesn't go to my dinner plate. It doesn't go to the homeless people in these big cities. It goes to corporations for high fructose corn syrup, which is in almost everything nowadays. And it goes to feeding cows. And you need to have that feed so that people can buy hamburgers and everything else down the road. It's not like it's not important.
Right.
But what we grow doesn't necessarily go to people's tables.
And that may be a whole nother podcast. I was just saying that when it comes to the idea of the grassroots, homebound kind of way of thinking about ourselves as people and as individuals, I'm pretty proud to be a Midwesterner. You know, I like being from the Midwest. I like Chicago. I like Milwaukee. I like Green Bay. I like St. Paul.
Are you saying this?
Minneapolis.
Are you saying these things because you like the athletic teams that are at those places?
I'm a San Francisco Niners fan. I don't fucking care about their sports teams.
What do you like
I'm
about
saying
those
that-
cities? To me,
Those
a city is a
those
city.
cities are. Well, you have St.
They're all
Louis.
to me, they're all the same.
The gateway of the West. St. Louis is a place that everybody went through to go west.
Yeah,
It's an
historically
amazing
speaking,
places.
these cities had great import
And
back
they
in the day.
still
But
have-
today,
They still have great import to me. St. Louis, Kansas City, Omaha.
okay, you just
They
keep
all-
naming cities. You're not telling me why are they extremely relevant to me today?
Because
I think back in the day they were.
as Midwestern cities,
I'm not saying they're not important. I think that people that live in those places have just as great a life and they're just as important as I am. I'm not belittling them in any way.
But why am I saying they're
But
important?
why are you holding them above everyone else when you name them like you're naming
Because
them?
I feel that they are. Because we're an agricultural society in the Midwest more than any other part of the country. Any other
Okay, so what
region.
does Chicago have to do with that?
Because Chicago ships stuff all over the country on behalf of us. Out the Great Lakes, they still ship stuff.
All right, all right. Okay, I suppose. I guess I'm just trying to understand the relevance. I'm back in the day, historical reference. I could see you saying St. Louis, gateway to the West, awesome. Okay, but today, in today's day and age, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like saying, when I was younger, I was like, oh, I can't wait to travel and go overseas and see things that are completely different than what they're like in the United States.
Sure.
Then you go overseas. When I got older, I go overseas, and great, there's a McDonald's and there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and this city looks like every other effing United States city.
Really?
Oh, gee.
I thought you were.
It's so commercialized. I'm just saying that our world, our cities, our places that we go to that used to be extremely unique, and there are still unique things about cities. I'm sure if I were to go to any city, there would be something there that's extremely special, and I have no idea about it, but I'm sure every city has something like that. I'm not trying to belittle cities, but they have become so cookie cutter. They've become so like everything else.
and
There's
I think-
so many things that
and
are
I think
exactly like everything else.
To be honest, I don't think he's been to enough cities.
That could
Because
be the case.
Chicago.
That could be the
To me,
case.
Chicago is an extremely unique city. Extremely unique city because it's on the lake. They've changed quite a bit. There's the Millennium Park and the areas around the Navy Pier and the downtown area are really, really wonderful, beautiful areas. I've never been to Milwaukee. I'm dying to go there. I'm thinking next summer we're probably going to hit that as a family because the Milwaukee Music Fest will be incredible. I've been to Minneapolis and St. Paul a number of times. I think it's a wonderful city. Minneapolis is incredible. I think Omaha is an amazing city. It's a huge place for the Air Force. First of all, it's one of the big Air Force bases. I think Bush landed there on his way back to D.C. after 9/11, as a matter of fact. But Omaha, again, a huge city that really is centered around much more farming-wise. I mean, I would say Omaha is probably the biggest farming centralized city in the Midwest because, it's on the border of Iowa and so many other states. Kansas City, again, a huge farming city. But again, a metropolis that's just amazing that spans 2 states, right? And I think St. Louis, again, I'm obviously a fan of the Midwest, but St.
Right.
Louis is truly the city people went to when they were heading west. The line on the Mississippi River, it came through right there. It was a focal point.
And I can appreciate that.
You're such an asshole.
No, I can really appreciate that. You're saying that, and I can appreciate that. You're right. You are correct. Historically, that is correct.
We have to find things that make us unique from everybody else.
I know, but every day, every single day, we become less unique. That's part of the reason why I want to do this podcast, this Primal Scream, because every day there's new people going into the workforce, and every single day you're getting turned into a little robot. You have to follow these rules. Don't give into your impulses. Don't give into your how you're hardwired. You're a man. Don't look at that woman's tits. Don't look at that woman's ass. Do not act inappropriately. Do not do this. Do not do that. And you find yourself walking around like a robot. Oh, by the way, any accident that happens, if there's an incident or an accident or injury, that was preventable. It should have been preventable. Because we have a slogan in our company. Hey, it's preventable. Accident is an accident. It's an act of, well, people used to say it's an act of God. You couldn't help it. It was an accident. I walked out on the sidewalk. There was some ice. I slipped and fell. Things happen. It's human nature that things happen. Nobody's perfect. But when you make a mistake, you're held to, people look at it like, oh my God, how is this possible? You should have been following all these rules and regulations that we have for you. I'm just saying that idea influences cities. It's not just one corporation. It's not just one business. It's all the companies in every city, in every state. And they have unique, beautiful landscapes and things like that. And back in the day, they were extremely important, keyway to the West. But today, a city is so not unique to me.
Well, maybe I'm trying to say that we need to remember the uniqueness of what they were and that they still are in certain aspects. I was in St. Louis for 2 or 3 days this last June and got to walk around all over downtown, right? I jogged 2 or 3 miles away and went to a CrossFit gym. I'm a huge CrossFit person, just in case people on the podcast want to know.
Enthusiast.
And so I found a podcast. I found a local CrossFit gym who had a box close by, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I jogged down there, went there, worked out, came back. It was fantastic. Had a great time. But I jogged through whole sections of town. I went right down the main drive and went right by the baseball stadium, right? Went underneath railroad tracks, went through a dilapidated area. I mean, just horrible area, like just street fronts that are just horrible.
Okay.
But with those street fronts where you jog through, like, God, if somebody was willing to invest some time and money, this could be pretty wonderful if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then nice area, and then bad area, and then nice area again. I mean, I went through like 2 or 3 different changes throughout the whole thing. And so I've been in enough areas where I wish we had that kind of like pioneer, positive way of thinking about who we are and what we are as Americans and who we were back in the day. I mean, I don't know if enough people say, I live in St. Louis. I mean, where I live is pretty fucking incredible. I mean, when it comes to the historical part of who we are as a city, is we did amazing things here. When people came through here,
yeah.
Part of me says that we as people need to find. Maybe that's why I'm finding things that I like about the Midwest, of those cities, because I'm trying to. I'm finding things. I'm not trying to find things. I know in my heart of hearts, things that I find positive and wonderful about the Midwest, and so I like Chicago. I think Chicago is fucking incredible city. The record stores there. I bought more vinyl this summer, and I have my entire life because I did my Around Me record stores on my iPhone.
Okay.
Oh, just freaking blew up. I spent like 5 hours walking all over the city, hitting these record stores, and one was like all jazz. I didn't know it at the time. It said so and so's record store, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll go there." And I walked around.
Out to be all jazz.
I walked around going, I have no idea except for like John Coltrane and Miles Davis and like the basic stuff.
Right.
I had no idea who anybody else was, but I was like, we're talking a humongous record store that was just jazz, and I thought, okay, some guy or some guys got together and said, you know what? I have this store.
There's a lot more to.
I'm gonna fucking open up this entire store.
A lot more to jazz than just one guy. one or two guys.
I know, but I'm just saying that.
No, I'm saying
said-
that's what they were thinking. And you go into the store and it's
they
like,
know.
it's evident. It's evident. Let me show you
I walked
the
around
beauty and the depth of jazz.
looking at posters and T-shirts and records, and I had absolutely no idea what 99% of the stuff was.
Right.
And I walked out. I gave my backpack when I walked in because you can't walk around with your backpack. And so I walked out, and he's like, "Did you find anything?" And I'm like, "You know what? To be honest, I've never in my life been to a store like this before." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "My brother is a huge jazz saxophone player,
Enthusiast.
a professional.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
saxophone player,
right. You're correct.
And yet here I'm going, okay, I know John Coltrane and I know Miles Davis, and they're not. John Coltrane's a saxophone player, but Miles Davis is a trumpet player. I'm going, outside of that, I don't know what I'm talking about. But because it was in a city like Chicago, I was introduced to something that I was kind of caught off guard by. And I think that I've heard that Milwaukee is very similar. Green Bay is unique because I think it's a sports town, and I like it. Minneapolis, St. Paul is a very, very wonderful coupling of cities. Again, Omaha has some incredible. The zoo in Omaha is just unbelievable. I think Kansas City is one of the best cities in the entire world. It's just a wonderful city. Great barbecue. I mean, just the best barbecue ever.
You know what?
And one of my personal favorites, even though I'm not a Cardinals fan, I love St. Louis. I've always loved St. Louis. When you watch the movie about when they built that arch, the Gateway to the West,
Okay.
it's just
I'm sure a few people died in that construction. Just one or two.
nobody died.
What?
And the coolest part was
All
that
right.
if you watch the movie, if you go to the arch, right, and you go up inside of it, it's first of all, it's scary. Second of all, there's all kinds of movies and museums underneath the ground, underneath the arch. And if you go to the movie about how they built it, on the last day, they're putting the keystone in at the very top of that arch, right? It's the middle of the summer, right? It's hotter than shit. All the metal is expanded, right? They can't fit the keystone in because all the metal going up to the top has expanded and they can't fit it in. So they call out all the fire departments and they start dumping water on the two sides
To shrink the metal.
and they get to the one with the crane can drop the keystone in, fucking bolt it up and weld it, and they're done. It's just amazing. It adds to the idea of American ingenuity, American wherewithal to get things accomplished. Here's a huge fucking problem. How are we going to solve it?
Right.
I like those things. Those are what lift me up. And I'm telling you, I am one of those, as you like to put it, tree hugging, bunny loving liberals.
Bunny loving? That's new. I never called you a bunny lover.
Maybe I edited
But I
that.
like it.
Maybe I edited that myself.
Dude, I'm calling you a bunny lover from now on. I love it.
Tree hugger for
Hey,
sure. But the idea of it, but American.
What? Say it.
God.
Can't find the right word. Work ethic,
I don't know,
ingenuity,
but
creativity.
you give me a hard time sometimes because I'm extremely proud to be an American because of those.
Your patriotism.
Yeah, because of those little things. It's not because I'm like rah rah fuck this or rah rah bomb this guy.
Dude,
or rah,
I've
rah,
never
do
heard
this
that
thing.
before. I've never heard rah rah fuck that.
I'm not being specific. You're right.
I think that's really funny. I think
But I'm
that's
saying
really
that
funny.
I've never been a rah rah jingoistic kind of person, but I do have a huge part of me, especially when it comes to the Midwest. As an American, I have a huge part of my heart that's just like I don't like the idea of people denigrating America and saying that we aren't hard workers because when it comes to the Midwest, we fundamentally are hard workers. And I'm not saying like sweatshop workers in New York in the
Right.
part of
Okay.
our early part of our years aren't important, those kind of things, or the same thing in San Francisco on the other coast. I'm saying when it comes to the Midwest, we are down in the dirt, get shit done, farmers, bust your backside. When there's a problem, you fucking solve it. You don't hang on anybody else's shoulders. If you have you work your way up to things. And that's why I love the idea of who we are as Midwesterners. I like that part of us.
All right. Do you think that any of this stems from your vast history as a history teacher?
Oh yeah. No, it does. Oh,
Or
absolutely.
does it come from you traveling so much as a young adult?
It's probably both. But it's probably both. But I have to say that as a historian, oh God, I don't want to take away anything from the East Coast, which is obviously where everything began.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
but to come west, to have the balls and the wherewithal to come west and say, you know what, we don't. Could you imagine getting in your car and fucking driving somewhere and saying, we have no idea what's out there, no idea what's going to happen. We've heard of this, this, and this, these crazy savages, blah, blah, blah. And we're just going to fucking drive out there and see what happens.
Okay, you did say car.
Okay.
Right?
No, I'm saying car.
All right, I'm saying.
Imagine that with a car, and now we're in a fucking buggy, and we got old Bessie hooked up behind the
mule.
the buggy, who's hauling all of our shit, and the kids are in the buggy, and we're fucking going off into Neverland. We have no idea what's going on. The guts that takes to build sod houses, to cut the sod from the earth, right? The greatest prairie land in the fucking world is from here. It was so thick and so dense, you could build a fucking house from it. It was better than any brick you could ever build to build a house out of. And you cut it out of the prairie around here that is built by nature, period. Right?
All right.
For thousands of years.
Yes. Okay. That it's all very beautiful.
Yeah. You can't beat it. You cannot beat it. And I don't know about the Kentucky Highlands and the Blue Mountains and the Appalachians and all that stuff. I'm just saying that I, as a Midwesterner, just embrace that whole thing. And you brought up the historian part of me.
Right. You're sure.
Got me all verklempt. It's okay. I'm just saying.
I would like to throw out a challenge to our listeners. And anybody who wants to follow our tweets, we're on Twitter and Facebook. And you can Gmail. You can send us an email at Gmail. And all of our links are on our website at theprimalscream.org. But here's a challenge, and I'm willing to take this up. If anybody out there wants to show me how fucking cool their city is, what makes your city badass? What makes it unique? What prove to me, show me. I think part of the reason why I have this kind of skeptical view.
It is. I was sitting here talking about how passionate I was, and you were looking at me like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're all so busy. Everybody can relate to this. What I'm about to say. We're all so busy doing what we need to do, taking care of our kids, being good parents, working our jobs. We don't have a lot of extra income, We don't have a lot of time to travel and go on vacations, maybe like our parents or grandparents used to. I don't have the time. If I go to a city, it's for a very specific reason, a very specific event. I don't have the time or the money to fly somewhere and be like, hey, I'm just going to hang. I'm just going to chill for a week or 3 or 4 days. I only have enough time in that city or that town to get done what I need to get done for my appointment. And then I got to go. I got to get out of there. And when you experience life like that, when you experience cities like that, everything looks the same. The world looks the same, and it doesn't seem very special, and it doesn't seem very unique. And I think that is a reminder about Labor Day today that if you're not able to take the time to really soak in something new, a new experience, a new place, everything becomes dull, and your life kind of becomes dull. And you become like me, very cynical, because you don't have the time to enjoy that stuff. So here's my challenge. Contact us. Twitter, Facebook, Gmail, and invite me to your city. I'll go. Todd and I will both go.
I'd love
We'll figure
it.
out a time. We'll do it on a
Love it.
weekend or I'll take vacation from my other job, my main job, and we will schedule the time to go. And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll do a podcast in your city.
It's a great idea.
And
Love it.
we'll bring some equipment. We'll do a podcast there after you show us all these wonderful things. I would love to know what makes wherever you're from awesome. Prove to me that I'm wrong. I really hope you do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the more opinions and the more perspectives, the better. That's part of our whole point of this podcast is that Matt and I have certain ways of thinking, and I mean, I haven't been that passionate about the Midwest in ages, but I get pretty caught up in the fervor of my feelings about the Midwest. I think that I do think that we're like the fucking key to the United States. You shut down these farms in the Midwest, everything else is fucking screwed. End of story. We have the best farmland in the world. There's no doubt about it. And so I get really caught up in the idea of that. So other perspectives are always welcome. And I like the idea of somebody saying, oh no, California orange groves are much better. And plus, I was born in California. I was born in the Bay Area. I know those artichoke groves. My wife and I drive through.
There's artichoke groves?
Oh, fuck yeah. Artichokes are incredibly beautiful plants. And,
really?
Oh, they're amazing. And so you drive Highway 1 from San Francisco down across the, Half Moon Bay and Santa Cruz and down to San Luis Obispo and some of those places. It's just like I'm amazed at the fields of tomatoes and cabbage and artichokes. I mean, just like absolutely amazing. You would be so surprised if you saw it. Cypress trees and huge vegetable groves, like crazy. You're talking about farmer workers out there picking stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes you sit back and go, holy shit, this is a pretty amazing place. The canneries are all gone. There's still canneries that are there, but they're now like, farmers markets and jams and jelly shops kind of thing. Because nobody can produce fish out of the Pacific like Japanese and Southern California. But, I mean, you'll find parts of the world you're just kind of caught off guard by, or parts of America where you're kind of caught, oh, wow, this is pretty impressive. Now, if you and your wife would come to California with my wife and I,
every time you invite us, we're like, can't afford it. We got bills to pay.
We're not going to make that sacrifice. Thanks. We love you, but we're not willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't want to be around your family.
Oh, that'll be so limited. Oh, you'd probably chalk up 1 to 2 days of a week
No, actually,
trip.
I'm not. I don't know if I'm kidding.
On. You shouldn't be kidding, but it would be a great trip. Your wife and my wife and you and I would be so much fucking fun. You couldn't stop it. Can't stop.
Here's another reason why I find it hard to enjoy cities. Okay, I don't have that much money. When you go on vacation, and from the moment, even before you leave, even before you pack your bags, if you're this type of person, whereas even before you pack your bags, you're already worried. You're already thinking about, how am I going to pay for this on my credit card?
Right.
You're not going to enjoy vacation.
Exactly.
You're not. And that's the reality of so many Americans, so many people. They don't have the time. They don't have the money to go someplace. And when they do make that time, they still don't have the money. They still don't have it. And you're already worried about spending money. So when you go on vacation, you get to wherever you're at, you're trying to be really frugal,
You can't really enjoy what you're going to enjoy.
Yeah, you can't really enjoy it. And me personally, if I do go somewhere, I'm like, hey, I want to try that food. I want to go into that place. I want to go over to that small business. I've never seen that small business before. I want to go check it out. We don't have money. I mean,
but let me say that
we don't have money for that.
The one vacation so far that has been the most frugal that we offered you was you have to pay for your airfare, which I can't control. But
you're talking to California?
Yeah.
Okay.
Free beach house and food. So it's airfare and food.
When circumstances is that already gone? Is that already passed?
That's way gone.
Because I would like to take you up on that because it sounds really good right now.
I mean, I'm with you and I'm with our wives in the sense of, or my wife, I should say, is that we
You have to be responsible. I'm not saying be stupid.
No, I'm not saying be stupid either. But at some point, you have to say, okay, so we work our asses to the bone for ourselves and for our family. We work hard on purpose for certain things. But at some point, I know things are expensive, like vacations in fucking, Puerto Vallarta, whatever it is, crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't need to go. I don't need to go to Mykonos.
No, but part of me says that. So you say, wait a second.
Which
I
I'm
can
sure
live
it's beautiful there.
rent free, or I can live hotel free for 4 or 5 days. And so I need an airplane ticket, and I'm going to pay you for some gas and for some food.
Dude, I have to stop you because I just
go.
had the most amazing idea ever. Okay, are you ready for this?
Oh, God, I cannot wait.
Prep your ears, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm going to drop a little hot piece of gold into your brains. All right?
It's so dumb.
It is kind of dumb, but listen.
That's dumb. Go ahead.
But the idea is not dumb.
Okay.
The saying might have been dumb. All right?
Okay.
Think about all these houses that have been foreclosed on. Really beautiful houses, brand new houses. I'm thinking California, but I'm sure this has happened all over the place. Why don't banks, the banks that own these homes, why don't these banks pay a realtor or whatever and say, hey, you want to come out to California? I got a house you can stay
It's like
in.
a timeshare kind of thing.
They could turn these houses from vacant squatter houses into fine. Hey, you want to come visit? You want to travel around a little bit? We have shelter. We have places. We have open homes. There's homes all over, dotted all over the United States. I'm sure that if somebody were to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and create some type of enterprise,
right,
that you could get on the internet and be like, oh, that house, there's nobody living in it. It's in California. Wonderful. Can I timeshare that out? Or not timeshare. Can I rent it out for the weekend?
I hear you.
Instead of tearing it down, because that was one of the things I'd heard was that houses that were vacant, even though they were really new to the market, I mean, just freshly built, basically, were being torn down because it was reducing the property values of the surrounding houses that were occupied. Can you confirm or deny that?
Yes, I confirm that. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, that's what a fucking waste of materials.
Yeah.
What a horrible, horrible waste of materials. And think of the people that built those homes and the pride and the workmanship that went into cutting the trim and painting
physically
and building it, and the pride that it took for those people, those construction workers to put that together.
The owner of the construction company, or is it the owner of the guy who owns that whole lot full of houses who's like, we need to make a fucking dollar. You do what you got to do, get this house done, and we're done. Or I'm going to tear it down. I'm going to make my money back when whatever the bank forecloses on. I mean, that's the hard part. Is you have to have the higher ups, or the people who invest money, which I understand that part of it. They're putting money into this. I'm going to develop this whole area of homes. And all of a sudden, they don't mean anything. I'm losing money on everything. I can save more money by demolishing everything with the bank and starting over again. I'm going to save my ass and just be done with it. I mean, part of me understands the aspect of that.
I don't know if I could ever understand the idea of, you know what? I just built these houses and everything is perfect and everything is fine with this neighborhood. Everything is beautiful.
But I think
I'm going to go tear it down.
As a landowner,
and then later on, 10 years from now, I'm going to build it all back up again.
As a landowner, though, I don't know if this is right or not. I honestly don't know. I do know some people who do build houses that I could ask probably, who've developed like big ranches of homes, places, right? But I wonder if they have almost like a mortgage on every house that they built. They own the land. They own the house, and so they're building.
You can't spend the money on those materials and then demo the house and think that you're ever going to break even. It's already built. Those materials have already been used.
But if the house is, but if that's already part of what you've spent and or you're done with it, it's a cost that's been expended already. And then now it's like, I can continue to pay a mortgage on this piece of property, or I can demolish it and get rid of that mortgage. That's my
no,
thought.
no. You're never going to get rid of the mortgage. You've already spent the money for those materials. You've already paid people to build that house. You've already incurred a debt.
Which doesn't make sense to me, which makes me think we need to get somebody on the podcast that...
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
Why would you...
If you took out a loan... No. If I took out a loan to build a house...
So you and I built a whole entire grove of houses.
Yeah. I've taken a loan from the bank and built all these houses.
So something
must
have happened, though.
By me demolishing those houses, it doesn't remove my loan. I still have that debt.
I can't imagine that they would do it if it didn't benefit them somehow. If they weren't getting out from underneath something to do that. That's what I'm saying, is that we need to know somebody or have somebody on who understands that. Because
I totally agree.
You're right. It doesn't make any sense at all.
From our point of view, from my limited point of view, it makes no sense. So this is my idea. Here's my idea. If you have homes that are unoccupied in beautiful places around the United States, advertise that. Maybe you don't need to advertise it to somebody who needs to buy it. Maybe you need to advertise it as a vacation rental.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, it's just a normal everyday house. Maybe it's in a normal everyday neighborhood, but it's in Wyoming or it's in California. And me from the Midwest, I don't see that type of landscape. Let me just go somewhere so I have a cool place to hang out for the weekend.
Wyoming has some beautiful areas. I'll just put that out there.
And it's just a normal everyday house. It doesn't have to be a mansion.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a house. There's no way I'm going to be able to buy it. Maybe there's no way that other people can pay $1 million or $500,000 for a house. But guess what? You can still make money off of it.
Sure.
Don't tear it down. It's perfectly good. That's all I'm saying.
I totally agree.
So challenge me. That's my challenge to you. Challenge me. Send me an invite. Plan it out. Figure out a cool way to show me how great your city is, and we'll get in contact with you. We'll pass back and forth some emails, and we'll figure out how to make this work. Because I would be truly interested. I'm sure
too.
I'm sure there's really unique,
more,
beautiful places out there, and I want to know why your city's more unique or just really unique. Why is it so beautiful to you? I think that's pretty cool. I'd like to challenge everybody with that. What are you looking? What are you doing?
Nothing. I just think I think it's a great challenge. I do. I think it's a wonderful challenge.
I would go
because I would go too. We'll just get in the car. We'll just go.
Yeah, we'll just drive.
It's not too fucking far away.
What? No, fuck that. We're in the Midwest. And how big is the Midwest? Pretty fucking big. And it all seems the same to me.
It does seem the same.
I can go down to St. Louis. I can go up to Milwaukee.
Could
or
you
Wisconsin.
be in Fort Collins so I can go to the new Belgian brewery and get a tour at the same time? Same visit, please.
You know,
I was just talking to a friend who he and his family went through Colorado this summer for like a family vacation in their minivan.
Yeah.
And he said he was hoping when they were in Denver, it's like, oh, can I just get away for like a couple hours and go to Fort Collins? And he called, and every single Friday, Saturday, Sunday in August, 11 tours a day. So 11 tours
goes through a
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, goes to New Belgian Brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado. He wanted to go to the brewery, which is what one of my dreams is, right? Every single weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 11 tours a day was booked through the entire month of August. And he went so far as to say,
it's so unique. It's so amazing that people get such a charge. It's my dream. I want to go through a beer place.
Probably because you drink shit beer. How's that sound?
It's just because I have a different point of view. I live my life a certain way. I do drink, but I don't. It amuses me that it's so important to you to see that. Likewise, though, I love seeing stuff like how is it made type of thing. I like that type of stuff from the engineering point of view.
If you found a food or a beverage that you were like, this is unlike anything I've ever had in my life.
I love cupcakes.
Yeah, I go to Hostess Factory.
I do. Oh my god.
if you found something that you liked that much, right?
Hershey, New Jersey.
I've heard that there are tours of the New Belgium brewery that they give to like the normal person, and then like their brewer slash like distributors.
The upper 1%ers.
The distributors, the upper one, the distributors. Then they take you to like a green room, and the green room is all the beers before they're fermented, and they give you tastings of the beers before they have alcohol in them, so you can really taste the really crisp, clean taste of the beers
without getting all fucked up.
Well, no, it's not even that part. It's just the flavor is different once it's fermented. You know, it's like fresh, and then fermented means it's
rotten,
processed
it's
or rotten.
rotting.
Yeah, it's made alcohol from it, and so I've heard there's like different levels of it. But then, the part of it for me is they are, as a brewing company, we're talking about Fat Tire, Roly Boly, all
yeah.
like
What's so
1554.
hard? What's difficult?
Wonderful. Well, is they're 100% no footprint. They do wind power.
Why is that hard for you?
Wind power, solar power. They repurpose all the grain that they brew for their beers. So they have everybody has a bike on campus. So if they have to go from like building to building, they have a bike to ride.
Okay.
So they're ecologically sound.
Okay.
On top of making a great beer.
I'm still trying to figure out, why is this difficult for you? Because that's how I must have misunderstood, or you stated it wrong. You're like, you know what's hard for me? You go, you know what's hard for me? And then you went into how great.
That you can't understand why I like it so much. And why so many people, I talked to another grown adult who said he wants to go there and do that.
Okay, it's hard for you to understand why I care less.
Yeah.
Because there's so many cool things about it.
You know what? That's wrong, because I know why you don't care less. So we're good to go. You don't give a shit about it.
I am inviting you to invite me somewhere.
If it doesn't involve my kids and my wife,
yeah,
it doesn't fucking matter. No, that's you. That's you.
Yes, that's correct.
Done deal.
You know what? I am selfish. I am self-centered a bit. I do love my kids. I love my wife. But there's times where, and every parent knows this, and if you don't agree with me, you're a liar.
Your mom just messaged me on Facebook, just so you know.
Great. Yeah, you're a liar if you don't agree with what I'm about to say. There are times where you cannot enjoy something because the rest of your family is with you. If you went with a buddy or if you went with a girlfriend, you would have a great time. But when you have 3 kids who are so totally not interested in being where you're at, you're not going to have a good time.
So you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. I took 2 trips to Chicago this summer. One was with the kids and my lady, right? And
and my bride.
While she was off doing her thing for school. She's getting a doctorate. We'll play doctor someday. The boys and I went off and did crazy stuff together for 2 or 3 days. Then the next time around, we went to Chicago the following week, and she had a conference for some kind of big corporate thing, right? And I got to spend the time by myself, walking around the city, had a great time, right? Different strokes for different folks. I would never ask my family to go to Colorado to go to the New Belgium Brewery in Fort Collins. It's more the idea of saying, okay, here's a weekend. Do you have it off? Awesome. Do you have it off? Awesome. Do you have it off? Awesome. I have it off. 4 days, we're gone. Tell your wife, tell your kids, love you, I'll see you later. And we're going to go on a road trip, and we're going to drive a day, spend 2 days here, and we're going to drive back. And you're willing to say, you know what? My wife has things under control. She'll take care of everything, and we're gone. You have a hard time with that. I have no problem whatsoever with that. So I'm just saying that we talked about you and I being on The Amazing Race together. I could never physically be outside my children's arm. I would miss. They sleep with me every night. They sleep with me every night, and if I didn't feel one of them breathing on
you're
me
like my brother
or wrapped around my
face.
lower leg, I would not know what to do with myself. You have a problem with that, and I love it about you.
You misunderstood about The Amazing Race. I would do it. I don't think I am physically capable of doing what these younger people are doing. And
before that, though, you said it was your kids.
and I would miss my kids.
Thank you. I would miss my kids too.
I would miss my kids terribly.
But it's a month. They're going to live their whole goddamn lives with me, hanging over their shoulder, talking to them. No, don't do that. You can't get married until you're 30. Stop doing that. I mean, come on. It's a month. They'll survive.
Hey, okay. This is going to take us in. I really want to pre-plan this, okay? Our next podcast is going to have something. There's going to be some talk of relationships and love and family and all this stuff. But
we do have pretty wonderful marriages.
We do.
So we got to talk about it.
We are so blessed. But just a little thing. We were talking about vacations and time to ourselves. What we were just talking about. And recently, I have a friend who she has no time to herself. None. Unless it's in a car driving from her home to her work. Because she feels so guilty that she can't, or she won't allow herself to pay for a sitter to watch her kids for even one day. And she's doesn't.
Single?
No, she's married.
Okay.
She's married. Her husband works nights. She works during the day. And they don't have, or her family isn't anywhere around her. Right? She doesn't have that type of support. Like my mom, my dad, I could be like, hey, could you watch the kids on Saturday? I'd really like to have a date day with my lady. Sure, no problem. She doesn't. This girl doesn't have this.
No supports.
No support in that regard. But she also will feel so guilty, she's told me, that she can't allow herself one day. I go, what would you do with yourself, even with 6 hours to yourself? She goes, I have no idea. Can you imagine that?
But part of me says she's not like standing up for herself to have that time. You've told me that I take care of my kids. They go to school with me. They're with me all the time in the summer. I never have a break ever.
I had to force you last night to come to my house without your kids.
Right.
I had to force you to say, hey, leave your kids with your wife. I think she can handle it.
And that was hard for me, not because I didn't think she could handle it. It was almost like hard for me because I'm used to not being without my kids. It's kind of like my duty. That's what I do.
Yeah, and that's how this woman who I work with feels like.
That's fair,
she gives herself such a guilt trip. She can't allow herself to do those things. So when I'm looking at you and we're having this conversation about being invited, hopefully, I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping to be invited. I'm really looking forward to this, honestly, to go somewhere to experience a city that I've never been to before, and find out why it's so great. And you're saying, you can't even leave your family. I could. I have no problem going somewhere by myself. But there's some people who can't do that.
Right.
Even though it would be good for them to do that.
Sure. And I think that you and your wife probably get enough break with school and with work time that you get a time to be away from kids. I would say as an educator, there are times when I'm like, I've talked to so many children today that I don't want to talk to any more children. Where I am like talking to my wife, and my kids come in the room, like I am talking to another adult.
Yeah. Keep talking, bud.
I don't want to talk to a child. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to talk to a kid.
You're so. You know what? We're gonna wrap it up with this episode, with this podcast. I really enjoyed it. Everybody. Is that too abrupt? Boom.
Was it that bad?
No.
Jesus.
What? With what you said?
Yeah.
No. We're just coming up on that 1 hour and 30 minute mark.
Okay.
And we're trying to wrangle it in and have some. Yeah, I suppose that maybe from your perspective, you're like, okay, what did I say that was so bad?
Yeah,
we're ending this podcast abruptly.
My sphincter clenched up. I'm not quite sure what's happening.
You know what? The reality is I need to go check on my kids. All right.
Oh,
I'm
there it goes.
I need to be a good dad and interact a little bit. So, hey, I really enjoyed the podcast. Please come back. Please subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Todd, why don't you go ahead and give them all the information?
You got it. If you go to the Primal Scream at Todd or Matt and Todd, sorry, you will get our Twitter feed. And if you go, so the Primal Scream at Matt and Todd will be our Twitter feed. If you go to theprimalscream.org, that's our website where you can get the downloads for the podcast and get updates and see what we're doing. Matt and I will tweet out throughout the week, off and on, here and there, kind of let people know what's happening, what we're excited about, what's bothering us. So we're not going to keep our thoughts and our opinions or ideas to just the podcast. We're going to throw things out there when it comes to the Facebook page. We'll probably start linking things to the Facebook. And tweets will be going out on a daily basis from both of us. And the hashtag Todd and the hashtag Matt will be the way you can see whose fucking opinion you're listening to.
Oh,
Because
that's
I guarantee you.
It's going to be more you than me?
No.
More me than you?
No.
You just said I guarantee. What the fuck do you guarantee?
You interrupted me before I could
Well,
finish my thought. I'm trying
sorry.
to finish my thought. and
I
you're
guarantee
interrupting.
you that Matt's going to interrupt me. Well, you were correct. Great job,
I guarantee
Todd.
you, mine are better. Just saying. I'm just saying. Just kidding. I'm just saying that we're gonna try to make sure we have lots of opinions about lots of things. And you know what? We are people of the United States, and we are parents, and we're human beings, and we have reactions to things. And the world is a fucking crazy mess right now. And so we're gonna have lots of points of view on a ton of shit. So be aware of the Twitter feed, and please let us know. Retweet things you like. Give us shit for stuff you disagree with, and we're not going to judge you. We're going to take your opinion wholeheartedly and with a grain of salt.
Maybe you'll hear your question or your statement on our podcast.
Maybe you'll change our fucking minds. Maybe you'll be like, "Holy shit, you're right, man. Forget about it. I totally agree with you." I heard one today. I'm a big Obama fan. I always have been. I've been disappointed the last couple of years. I hate him being fucking so pro-war. But somebody the other day said, "Why is he leaning on a hawk for the Syria thing?" And he and John McCain are fucking connected at the hip right now. And it fucking drives me crazy. And so I retweeted that today. Why is Obama relying on a hawk to make decisions for him? He's his own person. If you're a progressive liberal, you make choices for yourself. This old man, sorry, he's a war hero. I understand all those things. I'm not trying to diminish him at all. But we're not going to go bomb people. We're not going to police the world all the time.
There's another little subject that could spark a whole nother conversation
Jeez,
on Twitter.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, hey, thank you very much again for joining us on this podcast. Join us on the next one, and I love it. I love you.
It's awesome, buddy. I love you too. Take
All
care
right.
of yourself.
All right, we'll see y'all later.
Adios.